There were myths and legends associated with Pete Maravich. I want to get the truth on some of these stories. First of all, that you were offered a contract by the Globetrotters to be the first white Globetrotter.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, I was offered $1 million contract to play with the Globetrotters, and during my senior year in college, when I was going back and forth analyzing who I wanted to play with, of course, I had an ABA was after me, the Carolina Cougars. I was dealing with them. I was dealing with basically the Atlanta Hawks and also with the Harlem Globetrotters. So I basically had three ways to go, three directions, and it was a lot of flattery. I guess a lot of people may say that, well, that speaks of the type of player he was, but I consider that flattery because the game itself today is that type of game. It's a game of spectacular moves and spectacular plays.
There were those who were detractors of Maravich even then, many. In fact, one very notable person by the name of Pat Riley said in 1978, Maravich is the most overrated superstar who ever came down the pike. Every guard in the league wants to send a limo to pick Pete up at the airport and play against his soft defense. I not only don't think Pete could play any other way, I don't think he wants to. Think Pat would change his opinion today, or you think he'd keep it?
Well, I don't know. I like Pat a lot. I think he's he's not only a very successful coach, but I think he's a very hard-working coach. And everybody has an opinion of people. I often thought about it. When I played against different players and so on, I would go in the dressing room and I'd look at the stats like anybody else, and they would say, well, Pete can't play defense, or Pistol Pete can't do this. And I'd look, and the man I happened to be playing had like 10 or 12 points or 14 points, and I'd have 45 or 50. And I'd say, who's defending who? And but that's part of the game. You get a particular reputation, and then it's like taking a pillow, Roy, going up on top of the Empire State Building, tearing it up, letting all the feathers go out. And then 2 days later, trying to retrieve every feather. You can't do it. And once that reputation is established, you can't retrieve them all.
There is a difference between image and reputation. I want to talk about a player that could easily be compared to Pete Maravich on a lot of levels, and that's Larry Bird. You played with Larry Bird your final season in the NBA. The parallels are stunning. Great, white, pure shooter, basically country boys. Tragedies growing up, both lost parents to suicide. But there are differences. I wonder if you can compare and contrast Maravich and Bird.
Well, gee whiz, Larry Bird, I think, is the best. Larry's not really the best rebounder in the NBA. He's not the best passer, I don't think. He's not the best dribbler. He's not the best shooter. He's not the best scorer. He's just the very best. And the reason for that, Roy, I think, is the fact that you do more than play with your feet. I can name several coaches who said Larry Bird would never make it in the NBA because he was too slow-footed. But there are certain players with an instinct like Larry Bird, a guy like Magic Johnson, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, that are so far above everyone else because of the way they think the game of basketball. You can't practice that. That's just something that is God-given, and Larry Bird has that. As far as comparing him to me, I couldn't compare him to me at all. I don't like comparisons at all. But I think that he is perhaps the best player today playing the game. I don't think he's the best ever because that leaves my son out. But other than that,
we'll get to that in a little bit.
I do think he's the best playing today. And of course, again, I don't like comparisons. You can't compare him with Kareem. I think you compare centers, you can compare guards, you can compare forwards.